going to start off with some questions revolving around stuff that you have asked on my YouTube channel. So if you guys want to get in on Q&A Wednesdays on my YouTube channel, as well as for your chance to be featured on not just my YouTube channel, but also this podcast, Talks with Taeler Hendrix, then here's what you're going to do. You're going to want to go to my YouTube channel where you can find the link, youtube.com/Taeler Hendrix. You're going to hit the subscribe button. You're going to find a recent Q&A video. You're going to hit the thumbs up, help us out in the algorithm, and then on that video, go to the comment section and put your question for your chance to be featured. You never know if I'm going to choose your question to be answered. And then you get featured on both my YouTube channel and my podcast. How cool is that? All right, so without further ado, let's go. Someone on my YouTube channel has asked me several times now, so I definitely wanted to get this question in here. They asked me what sort of advice I would have for wrestlers, both male and female. So this could actually be its own podcast, to be honest with you. So I'm going to give some bullet points, but definitely let me know if you guys are going to want me to go into a more in-depth version of that. We could spend a couple weeks on the stuff that I learned being a professional wrestler for almost 20 years. For literally like half of my life, I've been a professional wrestler in the industry. So I have learned a lot of things. So here we go. First things first, not everyone is your friend. What that means is you are oftentimes going to be up for a lot of the same jobs as a lot of the other people that you're around, talking to, hanging out with, so forth and so on. So you have to understand that even though things seem like you're friends, at the end of the day, that person is far more likely to take a job for themselves instead of recommending you for that job. So do not give every single person that's being friendly with you a VIP all access pass to your life, your goals, and your opportunities. Some people should not know certain information. That is a very big point that I want to hand out to every person, whether you're brand new in the business or not, okay? A lot of times people will be hanging around with you for the opportunities that they think they can get by being on your good side or being in the same carpool as you, on the same loop as you, so forth and so on. I can't tell you how many people did not like me, right? Or they liked me before I got into TNA, right? And then they saw me on Gut Check, and then all of a sudden they hated me and were tearing me down, right? There's a specific person, right, that I can particularly remember where some people reached out to me and were like, hey, so-and-so is talking a lot of things about you ever since you were on Gut Check and how they don't feel like you deserve that opportunity, all this other, this, that, and the other, right? Well, magically fast forward, I'm all of a sudden in Ring of Honor, and this person all of a sudden is in my DMs wanting to hang out with me, like all these other things. And it's like, but that's the wrestling business, okay? That's how it works. So not everyone deserves a VIP all access pass to your life, to your problems, to things that you're struggling with, to things that you want, and opportunities that you want to have. Next thing is a carry on a point of that point, so an additional follow-up point. Not everybody that is riding with you is for you, okay? There's a lot of dangerous situations that come with being a professional wrestler on the road, and especially with being a female professional wrestler on the road. You know, not everybody in the same carpool as you is going to have the same sort of ethics as you, which is a very big thing, okay? When you are tired and you're driving and you're in a carpool and somebody else is driving, you're putting your life in that person's hands. So make sure that person isn't a partier, that person isn't into that wild and drug-induced lifestyle and so forth. And also make sure that person is not tired, because tired driving is very similar to buzzed driving, and both of those are dangerous. I think it was Ryback or someone who made the point of actually saying, and I do believe that he was correct, and I agree with him on this point exactly. I am surprised, and he said this, I am surprised more wrestlers have not died in accidents from falling asleep at the wheel. And it's the truth. You know, in the wrestling lifestyle, you are barely in a place. You're lucky if you're in a place for 24 hours. You're always in and you're out. In and you're out. It's almost a waste sometimes to buy hotels. It really, truly is. And sometimes what people do to save money is carpool with a bunch of people stay in the same room. These are not always good things. Sometimes it is better to drive by yourself. Sometimes it is better to just get that hotel room by yourself and spend that money. Put all of that money on one credit card, right? So that way you can track all your expenses for your taxes and get write-offs. And also you can track the spending. And it keeps everything organized, okay? Sometimes it's so much better to do that as opposed to carpooling. Find ways to try and afford it and cut down on your other lifestyle expenses to be able to afford that. Sometimes there is safety in being alone versus safety in numbers, okay? Because you can't always trust the people that you're around to defend your life. I have been in situations where somebody else started a really dangerous situation that I got involved in just because I was in the immediate vicinity, you know, and that's dangerous, you know, and there's people that have fallen asleep at the wheel. There's people that drive drunk or whatever that they do to self-medicate to deal with the lifestyle and the choices that they've made in the business. And you don't know, you're not always party to those decisions, and those decisions could affect your life. You don't know. You don't know. That's the point. So sometimes it's best to do quality control when you don't have all the information. Another thing is understanding that this industry prize on childhood dreams. That's how it flourishes. People grow up watching this, they think it's cool, they love it, they want to do it, then they get into it as adults. And a lot of us struggle with the reality that the business is not how you think it is when you watch it on TV as a child. You know, that's why you have shows like, right now, like Dark Side of the Ring. You know, this is reality in wrestling every single day, okay? Another thing is, you know, understanding that this business, there's a lot of people that are struggling in this business. They're broken mentally, physically, emotionally. This is a hard, toxic business. And sometimes you have to weigh the pros and cons and understand that you can still be successful in this business without it necessarily looking the way you did when you were a child. I cut a promo on this exact thing. And I think if more people understood and grasped that, then when it's time for them to leave wrestling, they would be a lot happier. And that brings me to my next point. If you are lucky, there will be, if you are lucky, I have to stress that enough. If you are lucky, there will be a life for you after wrestling. There will be a life after wrestling. Just like if you are lucky, there is a life after football, a life after baseball, a life after being famous. Okay? And sometimes to prepare for that life after, you have to start that while you're still in it, because you're not always going to make that WWE paycheck, that AEW paycheck, or whatever your case may be, okay? That money, those opportunities, they're not always going to be there. So start educating yourself on the things that you can do to prepare for a successful life after the fact. You don't want to be one of these people that's 80-something years old at these conventions just hoping and praying someone wants to take a picture with you and recognizes you and remembers your work just so you can be able to pay for some groceries, basically. With the rising costs of living, medical expenses that are not paid for wrestlers, this is a big thing. I mentioned the most, the highest net worth, most wealthy NFL player of all time on my recent podcast with Vince Russo. It airs every Friday at 1 p.m. EST, called The Brand Live with Vincent Taylor. I asked all of you that tuned in for that, who is the most wealthy NFL player of all time? And nobody got it right. And there's a reason for that. It's because nobody is teaching people how to do this and how to put emotion aside and make the best possible decision for you in your future. Roger Staubach, who played 11 seasons with the Dallas Cowboys, is actually the most wealthy NFL player of all time. He beats out Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Eli Manning, and more. Okay, even Dak Prescott. Okay, he is worth over $600 million. And most of that he was able to learn by using skills that he started while he was in the NFL. He was doing real estate during the off seasons of the NFL while he was an active NFL player for the Cowboys. And what he was able to learn and do, he turned into a $600 million net worth to benefit himself and future generations of his family. This is what you call generational wealth. A lot of wrestlers could do this if they took the time to educate themselves. The breadcrumbs are there to follow. It's just so many people are caught up with the keeping up with the Joneses aspect of these industries, like the NFL, like the MLB, like the pro wrestling industry. So then they end up making future generations of their family pay for the mistakes that they're making now when those future generations technically don't even exist yet. It's a very hard thing. And why Roger Staubach only played 11 seasons with the Cowboys is because he made that emotional decision that I referenced earlier, and taking the emotion out of it to make the best decision for you and future generations of your family. He had like recorded something of like 20 plus concussions. Now this is something that you, the wrestling fans, can relate to, as well as wrestlers in the business. Every single time you step foot in the ring, you're putting your life on the line. So make sure that opportunity is worth the ultimate price. If it's not, don't do it. In the beginning of your career, you'll hear all these people talking about the bump card, you're going to rack up bumps on your bump card. It's true. It is true. And in the beginning of your career, people always stress, oh, quantity over quality. You gotta pay your dues. You gotta get your time in and your experience in. That's true, only to a certain extent. There comes a certain time when you have to start choosing quality over quantity, which is a complete flip of the script, okay? You'll see a lot of wrestlers as they get older in their careers start doing that. Now, the not so wise ones don't, but the ones that have wisened up, they do that. But sometimes the damage has already been done. That's why I'm such a huge fan of Christopher Nowinski and everything that his team is doing with CTE research and the brain and chronic concussion syndrome and all these things that affect contact sports like boxing, UFC, professional wrestling, you know, the NFL. There's so much that we still don't know, and you have to learn. And if you're a wrestler, these are things that you should be taking seriously, because you can't rely on a GoFundMe. There's no guarantee that people are going to donate to it. And is it really everybody else's responsibility to pay for what happened to you? Or should we be putting ourselves in a position to protect ourselves and be ready on the off chance that that a situation like that happens, okay? I am so passionate about this. These are so many things that as a wrestler, you need to be prepared for. Even if they never happen, it's better to have that knowledge and those resources and necessities than not need them. Better to have them, not need them, instead of needing them and not having them, okay? These are a lot of things that Daphne was trying to talk to people about and warn people about and educate people about, and I feel like they were not listening. And her final moments, she dedicated her brain to science to try to affect a change that was not readily available for her, and we're not listening. You need to listen. Okay, not every piece of advice is sage advice, but hers was and is still applicable today. Another thing that I think that if you are a new wrestler, you should understand is, ladies, you are accountable for your own behavior. If bad things happen, that's bad. Okay, you don't deserve bad things to happen to you. But you also have to understand that there are probably certain things that you decided or you did or you said that put you in those situations. Now, this is not blaming the victim. It's not. It's just about taking stock of yourself and accountability for yourself, your words, your actions. Nobody else can do that for you, okay? And when you give other people this kind of power over you, they're going to abuse it, okay? So why give them that kind of power over you? And this goes for men too. If you are a male in the business and you see another male doing bad things, if you say nothing, you're not a part of the boys. You're just a part of the reason why that person gets away with doing bad things, and he gets rewarded for those bad things instead of someone like you who is a good man, who is working hard for his dream and does deserve that spot and is not doing bad things to get to that spot. If more people, when they see something, they say something and they call it out, the business will become better for everyone. But there has to be enough people that are willing to attack the status quo that men and women benefit from. It's not just men. And it's not just a female problem. There are men that are abused in the business as well, and not enough talk about it. Not enough talk about it. And it's not, abuse of any kind is not okay. Your childhood dream, your wrestling dream should not come at the cost of your moral compass, okay? It should never be that high of a cost. Another thing is, if you are just starting out, don't just go to any local Joe Schmo school. Find a way to position yourself to go to some of the best schools in your country, okay? There's a school specifically on the West Coast. There's a school in the East Coast. There's a school down south of the Mason-Dixon. There's one school in the Midwest that's really good. There's 2 schools out in Canada. Okay, there are options. It's just a matter of how hungry are you. Okay, I picked up and moved a quarter of the way across the country to go to a school that I believed in. And that was a career changer for me in the best possible way. My mistake was leaving there when I did. Okay, there are options. Put yourself in the best possible position for success. Another thing is, not all moves should be done, okay? Remember, like I said earlier, your life, you know what? I'm going to stop there because there's so many other questions. Like I said, this is such a hot ticket question. So I'm going to stop myself before we end up with the whole podcast being just that one Q&A question. I probably already did way too much. I apologize. Someone asked me, what are some of your favorite dishes to cook? Are you talking holiday? Are you talking vegan? Are you talking just your average day to day? I don't know. So I will tell you, for Christmas, I love cooking my Christmas bread. I make a ham. I make this really awesome mashed potatoes. I make a rice from some of the juices from the cooked ham. I make a corn casserole. I make a delicious Portuguese stuffing. It's a family recipe. I love making garlic knots or homemade garlic bread to go with it. And then I make this dish with these green vegetables, which usually is green beans, and sometimes I'll put in kale or asparagus. And I put all of that with a chorizo, a linguiça, or like a maple bourbon sausage. And I will slow cook and saute that with red wine and some spices. It's so good. And plus desserts, because I love to bake. So that's kind of my Christmas spread. A favorite vegan dish of mine is a play on my mother's hash browns. I make this really good Sazon hash brown potato. And what I do, it's not fried. It's all boiled and then sauteed in the pan. And I use corn and crispy onions, and I put all of that together with different spices and some kale, and I wrap that in a spinach wrap. It's so good. I love it. It's one of my favorite go-tos because you can make so much of it and stretch it for several meals and you save money. As far as a regular dish that I like to spice up, I love to make a steak with a steak with a red wine sauce and some grilled shrimp. And then I also love to make a salmon over a bed of kale and diced potatoes and butternut squash all together. Those are some of my favorite meals and my favorite holiday spread that I love to do. Okay, who are some wrestlers that I would love the opportunity to work with again? Okay, Santana Garrett, the feisty Filipina Nina, Kelly Klein, Mandy Leon, Nevaeh Christ, let me see, Giselle Shaw, Casey Catal, Mercedes Martinez, Chelsea Green. I loved being tag team champions with her. You know, I had a lot of fun working with Lufisto. I would do that again. Let me see here. Kaylee Ray. I had a lot of fun working with her. Allie. I almost just called her Cherry Pop. Maria Manic. Yeah, there's a whole huge list of women that I would totally love to work with again. How do I learn new skills on my off time? Well, because I don't have a lot of off time, I'm always busy working on this, that, or the other sort of project. So I love to go to YouTube University. You know, you can take Harvard and other Ivy League classes in business, mathematics, and all kinds of other stuff right online for free without having to pay the Ivy League tag, okay, price tag. There's also different coding classes and like all kinds of different classes for, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I like to do. And I also like to utilize networking with people that are more successful than me. You are never going to get hate from somebody that's more successful than you. They don't have the time to hate on you. Hate always comes from below. They love to punch up, which doesn't make sense, but it's true. They love to like uppercut you. But if you're working with and trying to network and be around people that are more successful than you, 9 times out of 10, that success is going to rub off onto you, and you're going to benefit from so many things if you're paying attention. And I really love to learn from people that have the type of life or success or goal have achieved the goals that I want to achieve. So I get to learn from them and learn from their mistakes so I don't make the same. And I really get just such a wealth of knowledge and information. So that's what I do. Someone asked me if I started any new shows. Yes, I actually just found a show from Eli Roth, the director, like the horror director. It was so cool. So you guys know one of my all-time favorite shows is A Haunting. And apparently he does a show very similar to A Haunting, and it's called A Ghost Ruined My Life. I just started watching that last night for the first time. I'd never heard of it. I came across it by accident. So I definitely just started that. Do I still have stuff that fans have made me from wrestling? Yes, I do have quite a lot. I have this really cool cup that a fan named Cam made me. I have a painting and a drawing and a thank you note from one of my fans named Clinton, who watches all the stuff on here and on my podcast and stuff. I've got fan mail from some of you guys. I've got an 8x10 that I sold was originally a drawing done by a fan at a show. He told me he suffers from, you know, anxiety in public and stuff, but he likes to go to events. So what he does is he draws things while he's at events, and he drew a picture of me while he was watching me wrestle at Queens of Combat. So I still have all kinds of stuff like that. I actually make a scrapbook of different things, and I keep a lot of things. I have a lot of original posters that I was on back from like 2006. Like a lot of different really cool stuff. Someone asked me, what random music do I tend to hear on a regular basis on my playlist? This one was fun. I have such interesting taste in music, so I wrote down In This Moment, QnA West, The Guess Who, Avril Lavigne, Lifehouse, Eminem, Rise Against, Jason Aldean, Falling in Reverse, MGK, Walker Hayes, Gail, L. King, and more. So I have just a wide variety of tastes, and you guys know I'm a diehard Slayer fan, so them and the Red Hot Chili Peppers are in my playlist almost every day. All right, everyone, that is the last one for QnA Wednesday. And Q&As this week on the podcast. That was really, really long. I apologize, but I hope you guys got as much out of that as I did. Like I said, I had to stop myself because there is so much that I could go into. I really could. I could spend an inexorbitant amount of time trying to teach all the stuff that I have learned that I really hope other wrestlers get to learn and benefit from it in the ways that I did not and some of the ways that I did. Because I think that's how you end up leaving the business better than how you came into it. And that was a really long conversation I had with Mickie James in 2016-ish, 2017 at Shimmer.